Hi, I'm Alan Tetreault from Global Sugar Art, and today I'd like to show you how to use the pearl molds made by First Impression. Now, they have many different molds that can be used for borders. They have pearls, they have like a rose border, they have a nice oval bead border. There are many different borders. They're all made basically the same. So today we're going to show you how to make the pearl border and how to make what they call these little pearl drops, which can be used as a nice accent on many cakes. So I prefer, when I'm working with silicone molds, to use a mixture of 50% fondant and 50% gum paste, or all gum paste. The advantage of using the 50-50 mix is that if you put a border on the side of the cake, it will be firm enough to work with, to attach, and to stay on the side of the cake, yet you can still cut through it when you cut the cake. If you're using all gum paste, it sort of breaks and you have to remove it. So I have a piece of 50-50 mix here, and I'm just going to roll this out to a sausage, little rope. Now, I'm going to take part of that off. I don't want this too big, so I want it about the length of my mold. Now, don't put anything in the silicone molds. They use them just as they are. Some people will say, well, I'd like to put a little bit of super pearl dust in there first as a releasing agent. You don't need to do that, and furthermore, it's very hard to clean the super pearl out of a mold once you've put it in there, so that all your future moldings are going to have that sort of luster to them that you may not want. So just leave it exactly like it is. I like to put a little bit of shortening on my fingers when I'm doing the molding. It just helps so that the fondant gum paste mixture doesn't stick to your fingers. Start at the end and go in a back and forth motion. And I'm just sort of, what I'm doing is I'm opening that cavity and I'm pushing the fondant down into it. Go right down to the end. And just push it really hard into the mold. After you've got that done, I like to use a little artist palette knife. It's a very thin, flexible blade. It works great. Now I'm going to start in the center of the mold and I'm going to work toward the outside edges. If I start at the edge to trim this, it's going to pull the beads out. So by starting in the middle, I can avoid that. So I just keep my palette nice and flat and go right to the end and pull that off. And then start in the middle and go right down to the end and pull that off. And then I just want to rub my finger over there and make sure that it's a nice, flat, even surface. So we'll do that again. This time we're going to do one of these pearl drop molds. So I'm going to take a little piece of fondant. Now, in this one, they're graduated. So you have a large pearl here going down to a very tiny pearl. It makes sense then to taper your little rope of fondant to fit that. Again, I'm just putting a little bit of shortening on my fingers to push that in. Okay, I'm going to start in the center, work to the outside edge, center to the outside edge. It's very easy. Now when you're working with the 50-50 mix and a bead mold where they're just connected with a little piece of paste in between each bead, it's very helpful to put these in the freezer for about 3 to 5 minutes. You don't want to freeze them solid. You just want to firm that gum paste fondant mixture up enough so that they easily come out of the mold and they stay together. So I'm going to bring these into the freezer. We'll leave them for about 2 or 3 minutes and I'll be right back with you and show you what we can do with them. Okay, we're back and I've let these molds sit in the freezer for about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe up to 5 minutes, depending on how warm my room was and how warm the gum paste fondant mixture was before I molded them. So to remove them, I just have a regular paper towel here. I'm going to flip this over and I'm just going to, you see how easily that fell right out of there? And I'm just pulling the mold back and I'm sort of pulling it apart and those beads are coming right out in one long piece, one long chain. And on the small one, same thing. It'll pop right out. Okay. Now, if you haven't left them in the freezer too long, you won't get any condensation on them. They'll be nice and dry when they come out. If you've left them in the freezer too long, if you have a lot of humidity in the room, when you take them out, all of a sudden you'll see the condensation form on them. If that happens, just let them dry a little bit before you try to pearlize them. So I have some super pearl dust and a nice soft round brush, and this is why I'm using the paper towel, just so that the dust doesn't get all over the place. And of course, you could use any kind of dust you want. You can use a luster dust, you can use them pink, yellow, violet, whatever you want. But if you want to make them look like the real pearls, it's the super pearl dust that you'd want to use. So that's the tutorial basically on making your own strands of pearls using the mold. And here's a Best Wishes cake I'd done a while back. And I took this little pearl drop mold, and I decided that I only wanted to use 6 of the actual pearls. So I think I took off the end one and I counted 6, and then I made this little decoration. So be creative. You don't have to use them exactly the way they come out of the mold. Make something up and enjoy the experience. Thank you so much.